Welcome to Thriver's Ed, the podcast that's all about giving you the practical, no-nonsense advice you need to level up your life and business. I'm your host, Marcy Rossi, success coach, business strategist, and alcohol-free enthusiast. If you're ready to crush your goals, optimize your productivity, and live your best, most authentic life, then you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into topics like the psychology of success, practical strategies to boost your performance, and the unexpected ways living alcohol-free can elevate your life. Whether you're looking to boost your business, improve your health, or simply become a better version of yourself, Thriver's Ed is here to help you do just that. So grab your iced coffee, buckle up, and let's get thriving. All right, I wanted to kick off today by sharing something that I haven't announced publicly yet, and that is that I am doing something I have never done before, and that is hosting my very first summit. I am so excited. I am bringing together some really incredible speakers, and the goal of this summit is to help people set up automations and systems and workflows and processes and all these other rather unsexy things that save you so much time in your business. And honestly, who doesn't want more time and more freedom? So the summit, there will be more details obviously coming later. It's happening October 21st through the 23rd. It's called Auto Magic. It's right in time for a spooky season, all about making your business so much lighter and simpler. So I'm also doing something that I've never done before, and that is doing a little series leading up to the summit. So the goal of the summit is to walk you through how to set up these processes and automations to make business easier. But I wanted to take a step back and make sure that we had these foundational pieces in place so that you really are going to be able to get the absolute most out of this summit. And so I'm going to be doing a series of the 5 systems that you need to have in place, honestly, whether or not you decide to automate anything in your business, because these are what make things smooth and actually work for you. So today's is a visibility system, because if you're invisible, you're unbookable. Like, no one's going to purchase from you if they don't know that you exist. This is one of those absolutely key things that you have to have in place to have a successful business. You can have the greatest offer in the entire world, the prettiest website, the best branding, but if nobody actually sees it, no one's going to hire you. So that's what we're walking through today. The idea here is to set up the pieces that keep your name in your ideal client's brain, like keeping your name in front of their eyes, even when you're offline or you're sick or you're on vacation or you're like me, the last couple of days where I was at a hotel doing a staycation celebrating my birthday. So having pieces set up so you don't have to constantly be present, but you can still be present in the lives or in the world of your ideal clients. Like I said before, you can't get hired if no one knows or remembers that you exist. It's true. It's a little harsh to say, but it's true. And popping up a couple times a month on Instagram isn't going to cut it, right? It's not that you said it once in an email and then we're just going to hope that someone's going to eventually purchase from you. We have to remind them, right? If we go back to that rule of 7, I don't know, might be more than 7 now. But the idea is that you have to get in front of people multiple times before they're ready to purchase from you. So do you have a system in place to support that? And when you have a system in place, that means you don't have to actively be doing things. So what can we set up in the background to make sure that you're getting in front of your ideal client? Because if you're just posting and then disappearing and then later feeling guilty and saying, oh, I should post again, and then you schedule a bunch of things and then you stop, like, this isn't repeatable. It's going to lead to burnout. We have to have something in place that is actually going to function for us and that works with our energy, our moods, our likes, our strengths, our skills, etc. And when I talk about visibility, I don't necessarily mean having this massive audience. It's not about having 1 million followers or this humongous email list, although sure, both of those things would be great. It's really just staying front of mind for your audience. And you don't have to be visible everywhere. So the goal of this is not to have a system so that you can show up on YouTube and Pinterest and TikTok and Instagram and email and Facebook and all of the other places. It's about having something that works for you so that you can show up somewhere consistently. What I find is a lot of people they'll dive into building an audience, whether that's often it's an email list, through a lead magnet. But then if you ghost people every single time, you're basically having to start from scratch that next time that you pick that tool back up or get back into that platform, right? That's exhausting. It's exhausting for you. It's likely going to lead to people, ghosting you in return and bailing from your email list or from your social media profiles. So making sure that we have some kind of process in place so you can show up consistently in the places that matter to you and where your ideal clients are. And when you have such a system, like I said before, you can take time off, a weekend, a month, a whatever, without actually ghosting your business because things are happening on the back end. So when we're thinking about something like this, it doesn't mean, again, that we have to show up every day. Consistency can be defined on your own terms as long as there is some kind of pattern. It doesn't have to be a very clear pattern, but some kind of repetition involved in there. To do this, we can make this a lot easier with a lot of different ways. So the first is actually a speech that's going to be at Automagic. We have a speaker, Amber Rose Thomas, who's going to be talking about how you can get in front of your ideal client with like a $2 a day visibility ad. So this is something where, yes, there's some setup initially. Obviously, you have to create the ad pieces that go in there and set something up. And there's some maintenance on the back end, right? We're going to want to make sure that those ads are still working for us and adjust as needed. But you are getting in front of your client every single day, even if you don't open your phone, because you have ads supporting you. This is one example of something that you can set up to support staying top of mind for people. Other things we can do here. So a lot of people will preach having content pillars so that you have, 3 to 5 topics or themes. Maybe you have like a daily theme if you're posting daily. On Mondays, you do this. On Tuesdays, you do that. But if you have these pillars, then you have the option to, it gives you freedom by creating boundaries, if that makes sense. So it's not like you're just staring at a blank screen. If you know on Mondays that you talk about, your favorite software, then each Monday it's a little bit easier to come up with that actual idea is. You're not starting from this expanse of everything. You have a general category to go through, and that can support you in creating content faster. When we're creating this content too, batching, it's not a new idea, but the reason people talk about it is because it works. So we have another session topic, which is about taking like one idea, turning it into 5 YouTube posts, 5 blog posts, 5 newsletter posts, 5 Instagram posts, like really taking one thing and dividing it into subtopics, which is, a series like I'm going to be doing now, and reusing that in multiple different ways, because not everybody is going to be on YouTube. Not everybody is on your email list. Not everybody's going to check Instagram that week, but you are creating content, and ideally content that lives longer than, the social media 24 hours or whatever. And that way you're able to reach people far into the future. Another topic that we have is through using Pinterest, right? We take a pin and we're going to repurpose it over and over again. And Pinterest is a search engine, and that content lives on there for a long time. I can tell you this because I see visits to my website every week from posts that I created years ago. So we've got another expert coming in to show you how you can use Pinterest to support this visibility routine where you're creating content and then using Pinterest to support driving new eyeballs to that content. And if you're more into AI, we've got someone supporting you with how to create AI-powered content, right? So you can knock out a month of content in 1 hour. The goal of all of this is to really step back and say, do I have a process in place for making sure that I'm getting content out there, that I'm getting visible in front of my ideal audience? There are lots of ways we can do that, as we've just talked about. You can go completely manual, think about, different content pillars that you want to talk about and manually publish those things. You can take one idea and turn it into, 15, 20, 25 pieces of content using the batch and build content cycle. You can focus on evergreen strategies like Pinterest and YouTube and make sure that what you're creating is going to live long after that publication date. And you can use tools to support you in all this, like a scheduling tool. So there's lots out there. There's Later, Buffer. The one I was using for a while when I was really into social media or trying to stick with social media was Plan, PLANN.com. I use that one a lot. And for Pinterest, I use Tailwind. I find that one really handy to schedule all of my Pinterest pins. It'll, you can take one pin and say, send this across different boards at whatever frequency I want. And it makes sure that you're not, spamming Pinterest by promoting just the same link over and over and over again. but we need to have content there in order to, pin it or to send email. So really it's brainstorming ideas, making sure we're actually getting those ideas out of our head or off our notebooks and in front of our ideal audience, whatever that looks like. Again, ads, social media, emails, etc. So we have to create the content. We have to make sure that we are promoting the content however that is, right? We're creating Pinterest pins, we're telling our email audience about it, we are running social media ads. Anything that's driving those new eyeballs to our existing content is going to allow us to sustainably grow, to sustainably get in front of our ideal clients. So I want you to take a little bit of time and think about how you're going to show up even when life gets messy, even when you get sick, when things, are a little bit crazy. Do you have a process in place to make sure that you're continually showing up? Next, I want you to think about where you're showing up, right? Are you just doing what everybody else is saying that you should do? This is something for me with social media. I've talked about it before, but I was showing up on Instagram because my mentors were doing really well on Instagram and saying that this is, a key to their success. And I believe that it is, but it was not in line with my interests, with my desires, with my skill sets. It was just something that was completely draining to me every single time I approached it. And when I stepped away, my business actually grew 5 times because I was able to devote that amount of time into something else. And it's funny, I actually had this conversation with 2 women just this past week or over the last couple of weeks about how, they're tired of Instagram. They're doing it and they don't really know why they're doing it, and it's not really driving the results. And so one of them has decided to take me up on a challenge and pause her Instagram activity. Another one is toying with the idea of cutting back posts and just focusing on stories. And I'm not here to tell anybody that you shouldn't be on social media. If it works for you, keep doing it. And if you haven't given it a fair shot and you're just not wanting to do it because it involves getting visible and being vulnerable, I would say that that's not really fair either. I think you need to have some kind of presence, give it a real shot, listen to what these gurus are saying, because for a lot of people it works really well. But if it's still not panning out for you and you gave it your best, then maybe it's time to explore some other strategies there. So are you doing what's actually working? Make sure you're looking at the numbers. Have you gotten traffic from Instagram? Are people engaging with you? Are we able to get them off of the platform and into a longer term relationship, like an email list? Or are you just doing what everybody is saying should work for you and not really seeing the results? And then if you are posting on social media, or even if you're doing blog posts or your emails, look at your last 10 pieces of content and imagine someone brand new just found you. And let's assume that this person is also an ideal client. Would they get what you do, who it's for, why it matters? What is your content doing for your business? If you're just sending memes and you're getting all of that desired engagement, but we're not really getting any traction, we want to make sure that we're actually communicating to people what we do, why they should care, why it's for them, etc. in our posts. So take a look at your content, make sure it's actually serving your business and not just, vanity metrics, and take a look at where you're actually posting and is it actually aligned with what the numbers are telling you. With a podcast episode, I can't tell you what's going to be perfect for your business, but I can say that you're going to need something set up, some way to continually get your message, your service, your business, your name, etc. in front of ideal clients, because they need to see it over and over again. They need your content. They need your ideas. They need to understand why you're the one for them, and telling them once is just not going to cut it. So we have to have some kind of process that's going to support getting your name out there, getting visible. And what that looks like, you ultimately get to decide. So as I mentioned, there are a bunch of sessions at the Automagic Summit next month that will help you support this, but it doesn't have to be something automation based. So to start creating your visibility system, I have your Thrive in 5 for you today. Number 1 is pick 3 to 5 content pillars that you can rotate through weekly. Again, these are categories of topics related to your business that you can cycle through. These can be very specific categories, like systems, tools, client work, etc. Or they can be a little bit more general, like maybe Mondays you do something inspirational, maybe on Tuesdays you do something educational, maybe on Wednesdays you do something fun. Could be anything, but having some kind of categories will actually make it so much easier when you start to create that content. Number 2 is go repurpose something. When we're talking about getting visible, it does not mean that you need to have new content all the time. It means being smarter about the content that you're creating and making sure that it gets out in all of the places that makes sense for it. So take something you've created, whether that is an email, an Instagram post, a blog post, and repurpose it. Right? ChatGPT is fantastic at helping you repurpose things into different formats, but take one thing, reuse it in some form or fashion, and then hit publish. And make sure you have a system for doing that. Make sure you have some kind of setup to make sure that you are actually repurposing things and you're not spending so much time creating from scratch every single day, week, month, etc. Number 3 is to figure out how you might be able to use a scheduling tool to support you, whether that is scheduling out your emails, scheduling out your podcast episodes, scheduling out your Instagram posts or your Pinterest pins. Find a tool that's going to support you with this. There are a lot of free tools. They may have limits to the number of things that you can schedule, but there are a lot of free tools out there. So find something that's going to support you, because what's really going to help is if you are batch creating content, getting it all scheduled out. And that way, if something unexpected happens, if, life gets crazy, you get sick, the kids are out from school, whatever is going on in your life, you have something already set up so that you're not actively in the moment, constantly creating to hit publish in that second. Number 4, maybe actually this goes back to kind of number 2, but this is a content list of things that you can repurpose later. So number 2 is go repurpose something right now. Number 4, which could have been number 3, but whatever, we're going with this, is to start making a list of other things you can repurpose. So if you have a podcast, start looking at all of your old podcast episodes and finding different ways that you can reuse this, whether that is getting it on Pinterest, turning them into emails, etc. Start making a list, and that way when you have the time and energy, you can go through and actually repurpose multiple things so that, again, you have this log of content scheduled out into the future and you're not actively creating in the moment all the time. And then number 5 is to set a date on your calendar to map out the next month's visibility plan. This could be a month, it could be a quarter. I like to do quarters when I can, but sometimes life happens and you just have to go month by month. But having some time to map out what you want that visibility to look like. Maybe you want to have, in that month, you want to have 4 emails, 4 blog posts, you want to have, Instagram stories 3 days a week, whatever that looks like. Once you can see all of the different pieces that you're going to need for the month, you can then work on a plan to make sure that those pieces are actually happening. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to have Instagram stories that are completely separate from your podcast episode, that it's a completely different topic than your email. Like, repeating is absolutely okay. Nobody is watching all of the things that you do. And if they are, then we need to work on that messaging to figure out why they haven't purchased yet, right? So making sure you have a plan, that way you can set up all of the pieces that are necessary to make that plan happen. And that way life gets to get messy, right? You don't have to feel tied to your computer because you have things that are going to be working for you even when you're not going to be there. This is what I had been working on because I'm going to be gone. I mentioned that I have the summit next month, but I'm actually going to be gone for 3 weeks before that to go to Italy and to Iceland and just to do some traveling. And if I didn't have podcast episodes scheduled out and emails written out, I would be doing this tied to my laptop, like in the Blue Lagoon, right? That just does not sound like how I want to spend my vacation. So having systems set up for you means that you actually get to step away from your computer, but still stay in front of your audience. You don't have to worry about them forgetting about who you are. Visibility is how you get clients. End of story. They cannot hire you if they don't know that you exist. If you want people to purchase from you, they have to remember you. They have to know, like, and trust you, and that comes from engaging with or at least being aware of your content. And it doesn't have to take a lot of hustle to do this. It just takes some smooth systems, some processes or workflows or setups or automations that will take one piece of content and turn it into 20. And that way you are constantly working from a place of having things scheduled out instead of in the grind, in the moment, trying to create something just to fill a need for this. So let's get you set up so that you keep showing up and your business keeps showing up even when you don't feel like it. So that is the first system that we need to have in place. We need to have a visibility system so that people can discover us. In next week's episode, we're going to talk about system number 2, which is making sure that we are keeping track of and following up with leads. Because it's not enough to get in front of our ideal client and to have a system for that, but to make sure that we are nurturing them and moving them along the customer journey so that they're ready to purchase from us. So until next time, keep thriving.